Today I'm going to go on a deep dive and show you how I created these ethereal beach waves. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, another beach wave tutorial, but I'm finding that there's a lot of nuances and specific techniques for creating waves in hair and a lot of ways you can create differences with your wave looks. So my goal for this one was really balancing the ethereal elements of a wave and the beachy elements of a wave. So what do I mean by that? The classic beach wave has that effect of like salt water and sun. It's kind of messy and lived in. It's very natural and has like irregular textures to it and can often look a little bit more matte. Just a really kind of lived in style. Sometimes it's like the kind of look you can get just simply by braiding your hair, or if you have wavy hair and you go in the ocean and kind of crunch it up with salt water. Now, an ethereal wave is a bit different because it's smoother. It's a lot more like flowing water. It's like polished and the waves are a lot more uniform. They're shiny and just kind of have that cascading look to them, less texturized. So with this hairstyle, my goal has been to find that balance. You get a little bit of the texture and volume of the beach wave, but some more of these perfect little wavy elements. But I like to find balance with looks a lot of the time. So I'm going to break down some tips and tricks for using a wave wand to create this wave style. There are so many nuances to hairstyles, so I hope you find this helpful if you're looking for this kind of perfectly balanced, ethereal, yet beachy and natural look. I've been loving it. I gotta say, it's also been great for my fine hair because there's a little bit more lift at the root. It's keeping my hair up off the scalp so it doesn't get as greasy as quick. I have to wash my hair like every other day, but I got to 3-day hair with this hairstyle, which is very much an achievement. So I'm gonna get into my tips and tricks with the wave wand and creating this style. If you wanna stay tuned for the second half of the video, I'm gonna give you some other tips and tricks in general for what I've learned for my fine hair and what's really been a game changer for me. And then I'll share some products too as well. So stay tuned for the second half if you also want to learn more about that. And let's get into it. I'm going to start by showing you some techniques with the wave wand before I turn it on so I can show you some do's and don'ts. I used this in my Aphrodite look, but I mistakenly said it was Got2b. It's from Bedhead. It's their deep waver. You can use really any wave wand. I just like how these create extra deep waves. Okay, first things first, sectioning. When it comes to the ethereal wave style, because things are a lot more uniform, you're gonna wanna basically part the hair on horizontal sections. So sometimes when you curl your hair, for example, you might grab a front section or something and then curl it. When you do that with a wave and you go along the hair and then you let it go, the wave kind of breaks up because there's different, levels to your hair. So that's definitely a look and that's going to create more of that beachy look. But when you're trying to add some more ethereal elements and you want that uniform wave happening consistently throughout a section of the hair, it's best to go on horizontal sections. So what I'll do is like grab a section, just use my finger. This doesn't have to be perfect, so don't stress, And I'll grab a section like this, and then the next section I'm gonna grab, again, a horizontal plane. Just go like this and grab. That way when the hair falls and it falls all together and there's that uniformity and slickness that you want that has more of that ethereal feel. I found that that's really integral to creating the ethereal wave style. Now holding the wand. Same for creating that uniformity. You're gonna wanna make sure you're holding the wand as horizontal as possible. Sometimes it can be easy to just start to wave and you're like grabbing the hair like this. See how it's on a diagonal and diagonal? When you do that, again, you get that more broken up wave style. Nothing wrong with it, but you're not looking as smooth and polished. Now, when it comes to grabbing the root of the hair, which is what I'm finding is so great for my hair type and making sure this hairstyle lasts, that I don't get too much grease happening at the roots over the days I wear this hairstyle, is when you do the root of the hair with the wave wand, if you go like this, say you wanted to get right at the root as much as possible like this, boop. See how this is grasping? part of the hair, when I let go, there's gonna be a dent, like a really awkward dent from the heat at the side here. So rather than grabbing right at the root, what you're going to want to do is just softly get in at the hair and then angle it, then press down. So we're not quite up there right there, but we're still gonna get that volume at the root without that really awkward indent happening. Another tip, I like to hold the wand so that I can see the opening from the front. This is really crucial when I'm going from each wave, because as I go like 1, 2, I can really easily create a unified look. If I'm holding the wave wand like this, it's harder to see where each wave ends and begins, right? So it's a lot easier to create like a linking harmony. It gets a little trickier on this side because I'm right-handed, so when I move to this side, even though the instinct is to go like this, I just kind of use my hand backwards. Or do I even use, I think I use my left hand sometimes, whatever's kind of feeling more natural for positioning, but I want to see the front so I can like look at the wave pattern as I go. When it comes to actual sectioning, even when you're going horizontal, you can play with, you know, smaller horizontal waves for a littler wave effect. I find in Lord of the Rings, they have the smaller waves. I've been enjoying bigger sections, like a big chunk of hair. It just kind of opens it up, gives it a little bit more of a soft curl feeling almost. It's really up to you. I think I'm gonna play throughout the summer with different wave styles. It just takes a lot longer when you're doing the smaller horizontal sections. You can play with, instead of doing at the root of the hair, you can, you know, start a little bit lower. Play with how long you hold it. You may want to hold it a little bit longer, say at the middle of the section, and as you get lower, just because those ends are most likely more damaged, you might want to hold it just a touch shorter. You can play with how much heat you want, whether your hair, you know, needs a lot of heat or a little bit. Obviously, a lot more heat's going to create a bigger curl or wave that's going to last longer, but sometimes you want to find that middle ground where you're not putting too much heat on your hair. So I'm about to get into actually doing the hair, but next I'm just going to section it. Just get some of the back and the front separated, because in the past, even when I did that Aphrodite look, when I'm grabbing the back of the hair, sometimes I'm like grabbing again on that horizontal section, but I want to do something different this time that I tried out, where it's more like working like this way. It's going to be a little hard to see, but in order to do that, I'm just going to make sure I have the back sectioned out. I'll just kind of use my fingers and, again, doesn't have to be perfect, but grab a section that feels right, that represents the back of the hair. Obviously, heat protectant. I have heat protectant that I've used when my hair was damp, and also when it was dry. If you're using it when it's dry, make sure after you spray it, don't go into heat while it's still drying too. So you can either, if you're in a rush, just use a hairdryer and dry that up, or wait 10 minutes or whatever. Seems like a lot of steps, but when you get used to your routine, you kind of do these things naturally. Say you're doing something else. Oh, I'll put the heat spray in. I'm going to do my hair in 10 minutes so it'll dry by then. Let's get to the actual waving. I'm going to start with my horizontal section. This section can be a little tricky because I'm growing out my bangs. If you don't have bangs, it's a lot easier. So getting the wave there, wave one there, turning, then imprinting, holding, then see, you can also kind of feel as it clicks into place, the wave, just move really gently. See what I mean? Like you can follow, you want to get the next part. Click. And click. I'll hold this a little shorter. Can you see how this all kind of stays fairly together? We're not aiming for perfection, but we are aiming for this general uniformity happening. And another hot tip, pun intended, when I'm sectioning and trying to hold it on the horizontal, it's sometimes natural for your wrist to kind of slip and go more diagonal like this, but you almost want to overcompensate slightly and go like a little bit like that even. Very similar to what I did, of course, with the Aphrodite look, but I just want to show you like the kind of nuances required for getting this wave pattern right. See how I've kind of overcompensated with that tilt? And this is so important to like uniformly line up the waves, because if you don't, it's just gonna completely ruin the look of the wave. You might like break up the pattern and have like really awkward half waves that are like interrupted. And as you do this and get the hang of it, it really does get a lot easier. It feels a lot more natural. When you first use a wave wand, it can be a little clunky and feel kind of like awkward. See, that wave pattern got broken up a little bit, actually, probably from the tilt of my head and trying to look in this little mirror. That's fine, I'm not mad, but as you can see, the waves don't sit together. Here's a higher one, and here's a lower one. Higher one, lower one. Do you see that? Happy accident, so I can show you the effect. Now at this point, I'm going to let this all set before like any kind of brushing or tousling, and of course I'm going to go through the rest of the hair. I'll show you how I would do this side so that we can still see the wave as we go through. So again, you can see the wave as you go by facing it forward. Again, takes a little bit of time to get used to like using your left hand or using this backwards, but you can really feel the way the waves fall into place as you go. So it's not too difficult. Another tip when you're doing waves, when you go to the second wave or the third and you go clamp on, you want to kind of lift. It's attempting to pull down, but then you're going to pull out the wave you just created as it's setting. So lift up, you know, make sure there's no tension being pulled down. Here's the front all done before I shake it up and texturize it a little bit. You can see there's a play between having like bits of uniform waves, like really smooth and slick, but it's still broken up a little bit. Like it's not super perfect. It's definitely easier to go for the very perfect, everything in line wave when you take even bigger sections because you just have more that are together. So you can kind of find that balance between small and big sections. What works for you, they all create slightly different effects and it can be really fun to play with. The key to the back is making sure you're at least getting one section that's right up here, right at the root. So you're getting a little bit of volume instead of trying to reach and then get all these kind of awkward sections that are all diagonal. So at least the top has some uniformity, at least the top. I'm just going to take the top part here, again in a horizontal section, making sure the bumps are facing down. I'm going to pull up, do that rotation, clamp down. Now here's where it gets tricky. To see that I'm following the wave, I kind of have to rotate and lift the hair. Sorry, it is hard to show you. And then you can lift the hair and follow the wave and clamp. Lift the hair, follow the wave, clamp. Lift, clamp. Here's the waves when they're all done before brushing out or tousling. You can definitely leave it like this. I find if you don't brush or tousle, they're a lot more shiny, so there'll be more of that smooth, ethereal feel, but I do like to still have the natural essence coming through. So lately I've just been more shaking them up, kind of breaking them up with my hands, or if I'm brushing it, just kind of gently brush it rather than like just give a soft fluffing. It's gonna fluff it up more. The bangs are kind of at this very awkward length for integrating to the wave, but they're kind of just getting at that point I can wave them. And then I might add a little bit of texturizing spray. Hairspray I find is just so sticky and really tangles my hair, so texturizing spray can work a lot better, just especially at the root to maintain that volume. And then I'll probably go upside down actually and just spray around. Got a little bit more voluminous since I went upside down and sprayed it, which I like. And as I go about the day, even like in an hour, as I go through my makeup, even when I return and show you the finished look, everything's gonna settle. Everything almost feels a little crisp right away, but your hair settles almost like when you get a haircut and it needs to all fall into place. Quick tip for bangs. The thing is, I find with bangs, because I had bangs for many years, I'm finally growing them out. Especially if you have straight hair, I find it can look a little awkward if you have like straight bangs around your face or in front, and then you start your wave right at the root, because you kind of have this straight bang and then wave. If you have bangs, I recommend starting your wave a little lower and even just holding it really quickly there and then getting more of the waves a little bit lower in the hair. Just creates a little bit more of a seamless look. Or if your bangs are getting longer like mine, or if you have wavy hair naturally and you're just emphasizing your texture, you can, you know, get the bangs wavy. I think it can look really pretty. So I'm gonna pop off, I'm gonna film a makeup tutorial that's balancing this ethereal natural look. So I'll link that down below if you wanna follow that tutorial. And if anybody who has fine or straight hair wants to stay for the second half of the video where I'll just talk through some tips and tricks. And I think maybe some of these tips will be helpful for really anybody. So stay tuned for that if you want to learn more. If you're happy with just learning about these waves, go off into the night. And here are the waves. They've settled down a little bit. I've got my makeup on. I feel like the overall effect is ethereal and beachy, and I love it. I'm obsessed. So let's get into some tips and tricks for just general hair care. For probably some of these things can translate for a lot of hair types, but especially if you're like me and you have fine hair that tends towards being really flat and it's very straight. Okay, shampoo, use what works for you. Sulfates, not sulfates. For years I've been using Big. I love it. It has sea salt, seaweed, citrus juices, really helps volumize the hair. But why I say whatever shampoo works for you is more about the technique. And some people have said that when shampoo bottles say wash twice, that it was just like a way for you to get to use more shampoo. No, not the case. Since I have been double cleansing my hair, oh my gosh, what a game changer. And it's not just about the double cleanse. It is really about getting into the roots of your hair. So go in with some shampoo, get in there. You know, when you go to the hairdresser and it feels like a massage, it's like, wow, do that. You want to get in and up and under. Sometimes when I can tell my hair is really greasy, I go upside down to get there at the root. Your first wash, you can keep it kind of shorter, but when you go in with the second one, that's when you can feel the shampoo really lather up. Just like when you're at the hairdresser and you can feel like, whoa, it's feeling thick in there. I used to think they were using some magical other product, but it's just that second cleanse and getting in at the root. Practice what works for you, how much product works for you, but I gotta say, whatever shampoo you use, try the double cleanse. Conditioner, I was using a lot of heavy conditioners for years, and I think it can be a good thing to have some deep conditioning moments, but with fine hair, like even when I think I'd rinse it all out, I'd have areas of my hair that would feel really weighed down. So lately I've been using this John Frieda conditioner, new to me, but it's called the thickening conditioner for fine hair. It has a really interesting consistency. I find I get that smooth feeling you get when you wash out a really nice conditioner, but also feels, I don't know how to describe it, but it does feel lighter. And I am trying to switch to some more drugstore products because when you can find them, it's great because Sephora products add up. Am I right? So that's been a new find for me and I've been finding it's really been working. So when it comes to leave-in products, I definitely have to use them, like a leave-in conditioner like this Pureology 21 Benefits, just something that's going to potentially detangle your hair a little bit, start to get some heat protectant in there if you're using heat like I did. And so when your hair is damp, you're getting a little bit of that, but just be so mindful of how much you use. Like you can really quickly weigh down your hair. So I've been just doing a little bit less than I feel like I need, and that's been the sweet spot. So I do 2 sprays on my hand and do one side, 2 sprays on the other. And then a mousse, I also am trying out this John Frieda Volume Lift and just really getting it in at the root, getting it in at the hair. And I just think mousses have been a game changer for me over the past few years. I've used the JVN one I like, the Mika one, that's okay. I like that it has heat protectant to it. But something that is gonna get in your damp hair and make sure there's something happening with texture. So it's not just drying flat, whether you're blow drying or letting it dry, air dry. I have been putting in a touch of this Amika Star Fruit oil. It is indeed very lightweight. It's very hard when you have fine hair to find an actually lightweight oil, and this is very much that. I almost want to call it like a serum more, the consistency. It smells delicious. I just use one pump right at the ends to really get in, again, that heat protectant. And this can be a nice one to put in your hair before bed, and you don't want your hair to look really weighed down by oil the next day. Now, overnight, how do I keep my hair? JVN described this so well, but when you're sleeping on a pillow, your body heat is kind of like a flat iron, and it can impact your hair. So I've played with braids, I've played with even overnight curls, but they all present their own problems I don't need to get into right now. But what I've been finding has really been working for longevity for my hairstyles, for making sure I don't wake up with greasy hair, is a really loose bun, like right here, like a loop bun. I guess I'll show you what I mean by that. I go upside down and I take something like this type of hair elastic. It's thin, it's really stretchy, and it's not gonna be super tight around the hair. So I go upside down, one moment. I just do like a loop like this at the top of my head, like sometimes even all the way up here. I mean, it looks kind of okay. It doesn't look that weird to walk around with for the evening, but it keeps the hair all up high and it keeps my hair off my scalp. So I haven't had to use dry shampoo as much. I've been able to extend hairstyles longer, and it's a loose bun, so it's gonna keep a lot of your waves or curls if you have some in your hair. It's never perfect when you're sleeping on a hairstyle. You always wake up with it a little bit looser than when you went to bed, but this has been the best solution for me. I wake up and things have sort of shifted and fallen a little, but this has been game changer. And when I take my hair down, there's like a lot of volume at the root from having it up all night. So again, game changer. I find with braids, like that'll interrupt any hairstyle you might be trying to keep. And as someone with layers in my hair, and also most people have your ends kind of taper off a little, I find it hard to get waves that look good from overnight braids because the ends of the hair, like it gets a lot thinner, so then it just looks frizzy at the end. That's why I prefer a wave wand and then just try and extend the style for as long as possible. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys maybe learned some things that are potentially helpful for you. Definitely drop down below any tips and tricks you've discovered with your waving, with your fine hair, or anything related to what I covered today. And yeah, that's it for today. Toasty! Let's take it away. Thank you so much for everybody for sticking it out until the end. I'll link down below also this makeup style if you're interested in learning the tutorial if you haven't seen it already. And check out my Patreon for bonus content. Link down below as well. And until next time, may you all find yourselves a little bit of hair magic. And we will see you in the next video. Bye, witches.